I was not born for crowds. I was forged for duty. When a warrior truly awakens, he steps out of the din. Not because he despises his fellow man, but because the old rituals of belonging no longer fit. I learned this under the blue banners of Ultramar. The loudest halls are often the emptiest. Courage and honor is more than a battle cry. It is a discipline of truth. And truth does not bargain for applause. Most talk is performance. Rank, gossip, the endless trade of validation. The Codex Astartes warns of waste, of motion without purpose and speech without effect. So I stepped back. I did not sever bonds. I simply stopped pretending. In that quiet distance arrives on its own. This is not loneliness. It is the ground between the man I was and the warrior I must become. Among the sons of Guilliman, we call it clarity, to see how many ties are woven from habit, comfort, and shared illusions. I have seen formations shatter because men clung to what was familiar, not what was right. I have also seen brothers stand firm when every comfort burned away. I remember Calth, the first lesson that comfort is a lie. The word-bearers came smiling in brotherhood and struck in treachery, and an entire world learned the cost of trusting appearances. Since then, I measure connection by truth, not noise. I listen, I care, but I will not play along. The shift is subtle, and it creates distance without a word. From the outside, I seem unchanged, present, courteous, reliable. But something fundamental has turned within me, and others feel it even if they cannot name it. I am no longer trying to be approved of. I left the social game on the parade ground. Some call it admirable, others find it unsettling. Either way, I refuse to flatter, to compete for status, or to entertain falsehood. Place me where you will. I know who I am. That is Ultramarine discipline. They say I am quiet. They say I have changed. What they mean is that I no longer wear the roles they prefer. Once I reflected their values. Now I reflect my primarchs, measured judgment, ordered action, and duty without self-deception. Those who would know me must look at what I see, and most are not ready for that. I used to think connection meant constant presence, conversation, and careful appearances. But when purpose moves inward, obligation falls away. I still value brotherhood deeply, but not if it depends on performance or negotiating for approval. The Codex teaches economy. Apply force where it matters, conserve it where it doesn't. I no longer invest in ties that demand I shrink to fit them. To those used to transactional companionship, I seem distant. The truth is simpler. I refuse to uphold a structure I do not believe in. What rises in that space is not isolation but clarity, a calm independence that holds steady, whether others arrive or depart. It is the stillness a warrior finds on the line just before the charge, when all masks are stripped away and only what is real remains. From the outside, solitude is misunderstood. Many assume absence of noise is emptiness. They fill their days with motion to avoid meeting themselves. An Ultramarine learns to sit in silence until silence becomes a weapon. On the walls of Macragge, facing the void and the endless hunger of Behemoth, we learned that lesson with finality. There is no audience in the polar night, only your oath and the enemy. People call neutrality arrogance, silence judgment, detachment disinterest. They are wrong. I am simply done managing appearances. Much of what men call connection is merely a pact to preserve illusions. Step beyond it, and your presence alone disrupts the pattern. I do not argue, I do not provoke, I do not convert. I remove the expected signals: flattery, reassurance, easy agreement, and the room reveals itself. Friendships fade, not through conflict, but because their foundation was shared complaint and ritual distraction. When you stop feeding that, it withers. I will not agree just to belong. I will not speak to avoid silence. I will not diminish myself to keep peace. This is not rejection, it is reprioritization. True brotherhood becomes rarer and purer. Two men who do not need each other, yet choose to march side by side without expectation. That cannot be manufactured. It emerges only when both have stopped begging the world to complete them. Most social life runs on unwritten rules. You affirm me, I affirm you. We avoid depths that might disturb us. I once played that game because everyone did. Then I remembered what my Primarch wrote: order first, then truth in action. I no longer offer comfort that compromises reality. I no longer counterfeit agreement. This is not rebellion, it is clarity. And clarity unsettles because it exposes how much of life is a coordinated evasion of the obvious. People sense the change even if they cannot describe it. Something familiar goes missing, the constant exchange of reassurance. Without it, the system weakens. Conversations grow awkward, invitations slow, rooms feel tense. Not because I failed them, but because I stopped propping up what was hollow. As understanding deepens, my needs diminish, not just material, but emotional and social. Recognition loses its charge, validation becomes irrelevant, and many ties that were anchored in those needs slip away. This is the paradox. The clearer you become, the quieter your life becomes. Do not mistake this quiet for retreat. Inside, it is the opposite, a settling into bedrock. I still value connection when it forms naturally, without demands or performance. I am not cold. I am simply no longer dependent. In that detachment lies a depth that attachment cannot reach. Once you wake, you cannot unsee. Look inward and the noise fades. Look outward and much of the world still sleeps. You see the roles, the unexamined beliefs, the frantic motion that covers an untouched stillness. You stop envying what others call connection because you finally understand its price: conformity, compromise, and endless rehearsal. I will not trade truth for the comfort of fitting in. Yet I remember hope. Not for crowds, but for a single fellow traveler, awake, unthreatened by your full size, unwilling to make you smaller so they can feel safe. Such meetings are rare. You cannot force them. Better honest silence than decorative speech. So I walk alone. Not because I prefer the pathless waste, but because in an empire of dreams, authenticity is worth more than acceptance. This is how sons of Macragge endure. When Behemoth darkened our skies, our first captain, Saul Invictus, and the veterans of the First Company died to the last defending the polar fortresses. No audience, no applause, just oath and steel. That is the cost of truth paid in full, and the example that rebuilt us. We held, we learned, we rose. Our Primarch returned to lead the Indomitus Crusade, carving order through the long night. He wrote the Codex to keep our pride from ruining mankind a second time. Under his eye we purged our vanity, sharpened our method, and advanced, one measured strike at a time. This is the pattern: awaken, simplify, act. So hear me, men of this age. Stop performing. Stand to your full height. Cut the lines that pull you back into roles you no longer inhabit. Let lesser ties fall. Keep the few that are anchored in truth. Train the body. Order the mind. Speak little. Do much. Honor your oath even when no one is watching. Especially then. If you need a banner to carry, carry this one. Courage to stand alone. Honor to stand for something. Discipline to stand there as long as it takes. For Ultramar, for the Emperor, for the man you are becoming.